Last November, America once again elected a Republican Congress, and that comes with consequences. Let's analyze one of them. Later this month, the House Agricultural Committee is going to begin a series of hearings on possible changes to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, more commonly known as FoodStamps. Now, the committee chairman is Mike Conaway of Texas. Now, he says he doesn't want things to get too political about food stamps, but he did say that he thinks that it's more important that people rely on their own hard work than the government. That might mean something about his governing philosophy. He also said a family that depends on their own work is more secure. There's a dignity in taking care of yourself. And so you need to prepare yourself, America, for more cuts to SNAP, to more cuts to the funding, to harsher regulations on who can actually qualify for it, for limitations on how long a family can be on it. Now, we have many different statistics here that we're going to read for you about food stamps, and then we're going to have a little discussion about whether or not this makes sense to be one of the driving priorities of your new Congress. They got the number one out of the way. They once again voted to repeal Obamacare. That's out of the way until next week. Now let's cut food stamps. Some 46.5 million people, about 15% of the U.S. population, currently receive benefits, double the number from a decade ago. The costs, meanwhile, have nearly tripled in that time, going from $27 billion in fiscal year 2004 to $74 billion in 2014. And when we bring up the chart, you're going to see that, yes, the number of people on food stamps has risen every year. Now, it did drop a little bit in 2014 thanks to the economy improving, at least under certain metrics. But there are a lot of people on it, and it does cost a lot of money, and that's one of the reasons that back in 2013, Republicans cut the program. They tried to cut the program by $40 billion as part of the Farm Bill reauthorization. A compromise with the Democrats yielded $8.6 billion in cuts over 10 years. When you see those two numbers, compromise from the Democrats actually seems to have accomplished something in that case. Some actual details about what you get on food stamps, because apparently this is such a huge problem. The average recipient receives about $125 a month. Oh my God, they're so luxurious on their $125 a month that they have to feed their children on. Now, we're gonna talk about who's on it, why they're on it. If you listen to Fox, the reason people are on it is because they don't know how to work. They're not hardworking. Nearly 40% of recipients are able-bodied adults between the ages of 18 and 60. The rest are children, elderly, or disabled adults. The average gross income for all recipient households is $758 a month. So the majority are not people who are choosing not to work. In fact, many people are on food stamps despite the fact that they already have at least one full-time job. The rest are children, the elderly, perhaps veterans who've been incapacitated in foreign conflicts. But those people apparently aren't working hard enough for the Republicans, and so we can expect there will be significant cuts to food stamps.
So this is an issue that at some point I could be a little bit more conservative on. And I can see a day where I would say, hey, listen, we've got budget problems. And it has really grown out of control. I mean, it's doubled. And obviously that's a hugely, because of the economy as well. The economy did very poorly. But today's not that day because we give away so much money to the banks, the oil companies. So we give $40 billion in oil subsidies. Okay, all right, you take away the oil subsidies. Then we could have a conversation about a guy making $758 a month, whether we should cut their food stamps for their kids.
Yeah.
Like, I'm telling you, I'm willing to have that conversation, right? But I'm not going to have it if you're still giving away bailouts to the banks, the oil companies, tax cuts for the rich. Are you kidding me? They want to cut food stamps by $40 billion, and then a compromise led to $8.6 billion in cuts. Okay, the oil subsidies here was the compromise on that. They didn't cut it 1 cent.
Yeah.
It's still $40 billion. If you're Americans, who do you want to have the money? Poor people who've got kids who are getting just $125 a month to be able to eat, or the most profitable companies in the world. So these guys are such utter frauds.
Yeah, before I answer that question, do the executives have kids? The oil executives?
No, but that goes to a second point, Ben, which is, now wait a minute, you're telling me in his quote he was saying, hey, look, I want to make sure that people have the right incentive to work, right? Great.
They're working.
Then wait a minute. Then why don't we give the oil companies a proper incentive to work by taking away their subsidies?
Yeah.
Why are those bums living off of our money? I want to help the oil companies. I want them to be more productive and work harder.
Yeah.
Let me give them the right incentive. Give me back the subsidies.
Yeah, we take the billions, they get some bootstraps, and then they use them to lift themselves up. Now, what I love about the comparison between those two is that they want to take away the limitless nature of food stamps right now. Now, originally there was a limit on how many months you could have it. Thanks to the recession, we got rid of that, which seems nice of us to do. Now, originally, the subsidies that were going to the oil companies, it wasn't just random money. It was because early on, drilling for oil was not a profitable business, and we needed to incentivize it to start that industry. How long have they been drilling for oil in America? Perhaps we should have some sort of limit on how long you get incentives for that. You could save a few $billion.
Their incentive is they make more money than any company in the world.
Yeah.
The top 5 are in the top 10 of all profitable companies in the world.
Yeah.
I believe that's called capitalism. What more effing incentive do you need?
Let me, I have a couple other stats that I just think are so relevant. These are the ones that struck me. This is an article from 18 months ago, so the numbers have increased, by a couple percent. But for the number where you disqualify for food stamps, right? Gross income. If your gross income, a single person, $14,400 a year. If you make that, you can't get food stamps.
Yeah.
Less than $15,000 a year. Family of 4, just under $30,000 a year. If you make that, you can't qualify, and that's gross income. That's not net income. So we're not talking about people aren't cheating the system here. These people are poor. The reason the numbers went up is because there are more poor people. The numbers will go down if there are fewer poor people.
Yeah.
You want to do other things to keep people from being so poor? Well, great. Then they won't need food stamps.
And by the way, look, they can say that this is about philosophy. This is about the best way to get people back to work. But we know the people on that side, what they actually think about those people. We remember when Rush Limbaugh said, if they're hungry, they can go dumpster diving.
That's right, yeah.
They can find food there. And we know, we showed Andrea Tantaros recently on another clip. Andrea Tantaros, when she was talking about a politician who chose to go, Cory Booker, I think, who chose to go on the food stamp diet for 30 months, or 30 days, he would live as if he was on food stamps. She said, I should do that. I'd look fabulous. I'd be so skinny.
Yeah,
Perhaps the children are skinny, but I don't think that it's fabulous.
She's
People.
great.
So here you're going to see Stuart Varney, another Fox host, talking about why he thinks Obama is in favor of continuing food stamps.
So is this a planned strategy by the White House to keep the handouts on high levels? What do you think? The economy's getting better. There's no strategy to get these men and women off food stamps, it seems.
Certainly not. It is deliberate. This is redistribution. This is the administration taking from this group, giving from that group, to that group, I should say, essentially buying votes. And it's costing an enormous amount of money.
God damn, the projection is unbelievable. Because what do the Republican Party, what do they do? They take money from their donors and they redistribute it back to them. Bank bailouts. They take huge amounts of donations from the banks and then they give them billions, if not trillions, if you count what they got from the Federal Reserve, in bailouts. And what do they do that for? For votes. Because they take that money, they use it in political advertising, and they get reelected, right? So that is GOP 101. And this Stuart Varney smug prick comes out here and is like, oh, I can't believe they're redistributing money for $125 for their kids. We should take that away from them. They're trying to buy votes. No. You buy votes in mass and you love it.
Yeah.
It's that guy, man. Every time I see him, he's so grating. I think,
One of the most
send him
great.
back.
No, he's like a caricature.
Not sure we can do that.
Yeah, but there's so many things wrong just on the structure of it. Because first of all, they're redistributing wealth. Well, we've always done that. That's what we've always done. In fact, when you
That's
weren't
what
complaining
government
about
is.
the program under the Bush administration, they were just doing it for slightly less. But the concept is not that we're not going to do that.
Yeah.
We know we're going to do it. We do it all the time. We've done it from 1789 when we first formed the government on.
Yeah.
We've redistributed wealth. So it's disingenuous on its face. And then the other interesting thing is that we found out the one way that we can get a Fox News host to acknowledge that the economy under Obama has gotten better. Brian Kilmeade said it in his question. Like how the food stamp thing's going up, the economy's gotten, and of course the numbers have gone down since the economy got better. But he, of course, that's their one acknowledgement that the economy got better in a question about, and buying votes, that's the last thing. We already know, historically, those people who are making less than $30,000 in a family of 4 and the single guy making $14,400, most of them don't vote. Mm-hmm. That is essentially politically wasted money.
Yeah.
So the incentive would appear, in my mind, not to be that, but a genuine belief among people who may not even be significant progressives just people in charge thinking, I really don't want anyone in America to be hungry. We're the wealthiest country in the world. Here's one thing we can prevent. We can't make sure that they don't go to Burger King and McDonald's, that they don't eat incredibly poorly. They may get diabetes from all this, but they're not going to go to bed hungry. And that's an actual accomplishment that Americans ought to be proud of. Stuart Varney, from another land, can't imagine that.